Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put together our Dragonfly lantern. And we're gonna begin by putting together the main structure here. So we're gonna grab these pieces, okay? And as usual, I'm gonna begin by just taking and folding everything at the score lines here. Just wanna make sure that everything is nice and trained and prepared to take on its form. So go ahead and just get everything nice and scored. And you want to do that to all your pieces. It's kind of a little prep thing that I like to do when I'm getting ready to do all my assembly. So once you have that, go ahead and begin piecing these two pieces together. So what we have here, the actual windows for our vellum and for our little design, they're all the same size. The sides are like this, okay? They're gonna curve in. And let me show you what I mean by that here. You can see, there's your front, it's flat. The side kind of comes in at an angle, okay? So what we're gonna do, first off, is I want to glue these pieces side to side. And once we do that, we're going to go ahead and glue our vellum and our panels in place as well. Get my glue unclogged here. Okay, so you just want to get these two pieces glued together like so. And again, you just want to alternate the angled side and the flat side, angled side, flat side. So get that glued into place. And I would just bend it just to make sure that these windows perfectly align. And they do, okay. Now we don't want to close it up just yet. We do want to glue the panels, or the decorative panels down, okay. Go ahead and ignore this for just a second. One thing that I want to preface before we put the panels and the decorative elements on and the vellum is I want you to know that this part here with this extra tab, okay, you'll notice at the top how there's no tab on this. There's a tab here. This is the bottom, okay? So when you put your decorative element on there, you can see that the Dragonfly here, he's upright. You want to make sure that you pop that in there correctly. Okay, so that it's like that. Because what I did here was I put him in upside down. Okay, so make sure that you put him in right side up. This is the bottom. These actually, you'll see, if you look at them texture side up, they're kind of mirrored. Okay, so you want to alternate these as well. So you see how this leaf here is on the right-hand side and this leaf is on the left-hand side? Well, you want to alternate that because when you look at it from an angle, these little leaves kind of form an arc. Okay, so that was actually by design. We did that on purpose. And you're going to glue the panel down first, and then you can glue your vellum piece down to that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to do one because I don't need to show you all four. The same process applies to each one. Okay, so just don't get any glue on that, on the actual design itself. Just get it on this little border part. And actually, in your extras folder, there's a blank border or a blank little frame like this, okay? And that is for you if you want to customize your lantern by welding your own shapes. And I'm actually gonna be doing a video on that. By the time you're watching this, that video may or may not be available yet, but I am gonna do it. But I am gonna do it, and it will likely probably have something to do with one of my favorite holidays, and I'll also show you how to weld words and other things. So anyway, back to this. Again, you want to alternate these designs here. So these little leaves here kind of form an arc, and then you're gonna put this one down. Actually, you're gonna put, yeah, this one down here, and this one down here. It really doesn't matter. It's not the end of the world if you don't get them in the right place, but it's kind of cool if you do. okay? And then you're just gonna glue your vellum piece on here, okay? And you're gonna put a little line of glue on the perimeter. And then I would just kind of dab some glue on these internal parts here, just to make sure that that vellum kind of hugs this piece here. So you take your time a little bit more and get into these little pieces. If you've got a more precision tip glue bottle, that's probably really helpful for demonstrative purposes. I'm just gonna kind of go through this pretty quickly here, but that actually might be enough. And as you can see, that is how that looks. Now, while we still have this flat, might actually be easier to do this while it's flat. Each of these has a panel. The ones on the side that fold in have this sort of panel that folds like this, okay? So that's gonna go on these parts here, the ones that fold, and they are going to perfectly hug that window as well. So you know that you have it right as long as these are flush, okay? So let me grab a plain one here. Okay, now also you want to pay attention to how you're putting these panels on, okay? Because if you put it on this way, the window is the right size, but the angles here are not right. So you want to make sure that when you're putting this on, take a look and make sure that this angle here with the panel goes in the same angle as that piece, the actual base of the lantern. So you go ahead and put glue on your panel and get that glued into place nicely. Okay, and again, I'm doing it this way. If you want to put this thing together as far as the basic construction first and then put the panels on later, you can. I just think it's a lot easier when this thing's still flat. Okay, so you're going to repeat that process as far as the decorative element and the vellum and the panel on all four of these. And then we can go ahead and begin putting this guy together. Okay, and really it's fairly simple. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take and put glue on this tiny little tab here and glue that into place. You want to kind of hold that in place, make sure that you've got the right angle. Okay, give that a second to dry. Don't rush it. You want to make this thing beautiful. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of glue on this tab here. And we're going to tuck that in and get that glued in and hold that in place. Make sure that it gets a good grip and hold that until that dries. This thing actually goes together pretty easily. I think the most challenging thing is maybe, and it's not even that challenging, is the little bridge at the bottom for the base. But even that's not that bad, and we'll show you how that works here in just a second. So that's that, and then we're going to go ahead and close this guy up, and we're going to do that by gluing this tab in place on the other side. And make sure that you've got that nice and aligned, which I don't. I need to slide it up. This quick dry glue is awesome. It dries quick, but it does give you a few seconds to make some minor adjustments, which is very helpful. Okay, now technically you're going to have panels in here, so you're going to want to stick your hand inside like this and push from the inside to get that nice and gripped. Okay, and then finally we're going to take these two little corner pieces and glue that into place. Okay, I'm going to pretend like I have to work like you're working because you have the panels in, which is fine. And I'm going to flip this over and use my table to help with the glue. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. Okay, and that leaves this little guy here. I'm gonna pop some glue on him and fold him under and hold it there just for a few seconds to get that first initial grip Okay, I'm gonna flip them over and push down from the inside. Make sure that sticks. Okay, and that leaves 2 more little tabs here. Got this guy here. Okay, I'm gonna fold him in. Hold him down just for a second, make sure that it dries, or at least gets a grip. Put him down on my table and just push down. Okay, and that leaves, boy, I keep thinking that I'm almost done with this, but I'm not. I forget that there's 4 or 8 of these that I have to glue. Getting a little ahead of myself here. Okay, so you just want to close this up on those little corners using those little triangular tabs. You can flip it over, put it on your table, kind of use the table as leverage to get even more pressure in there. But I'm just going to walk you through this. So the cool thing about this and the fact that it comes with the blank panels is, you know, we're giving you the base. You could really customize this thing however you want. You know, eventually when I do get that video done, which I'm planning on doing this week, I will actually link it to this video so that you can see what else you can do with this thing. So that's pretty much it for the basic assembly of this thing, okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab these pieces here. One of them has an L on it that's cut with a score line. It's a tiny, tiny bit smaller. You can't even notice really. But the L is for liner, okay? And that's gonna go inside like so. So what we're gonna do is we're going to put glue on these tabs in here, okay? And I'm gonna drop my liner in there, like so. And again, I'm pretending like I have all my panels on. So I'm working just as you would have to work. And I'm gonna get that in there. That glue will dry clear. I don't even notice it really. Okay, and we can flip it over and put glue on the bottom of this guy. And you're not really gonna see this bottom piece. It's just for just for reinforcement and just to close it up and make it look nice. I'm gonna put the base on, the bottom. Okay. So far, really simple, but elegant. And I never glued this guy down. So let me just get him in place. Losing track of all my little tabs here. Get that excess glue off of there. Okay, I'm gonna push him down on the table, get some leverage. And there's the base of this thing. And you see how quickly that assembles. It's really not that difficult. So what we can do at this point, let's move on to the little bridge at the bottom. I'll show you how that goes together. So we'll put this off to the side. Here is the bridge. There's a B, as in boy, scored into this. This is for the bridge. And I'll show you how that works here in just a second. That's actually the top of the bridge, which it doesn't matter if the B's there because that's going to get glued down to the main structure of our bridge. So you have these 2 pieces as usual. You want to go ahead and do your pre-scoring just to kind of get those guys in shape, get them ready for their big moment. Okay, and actually while you have these flats, it may be a good idea to put your little panels on, okay? These panels go on like so. There's one for this piece, one for this piece, and then you also have this little panel here for the bridge portion. So just get that centered. It should have a nice little even border all the way around. Get that glued down, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're going to connect these 2 pieces by applying glue to this tab here. And just pop that right next to it. Make sure that it's nice and even and lined up, butting right up against that score mark. Hold that down and make sure it gets a really good grip. Okay, give it a few seconds. I usually jump the gun and kind of rush through this because I don't want you guys to get bored. You know, it's not, if you're working on this, I know some of you pre-watch this before you actually put it together, so that you can kind of maybe even just go through it yourself without having to watch every little step, which is cool. Okay, so that is that piece there. We're gonna put the top on it later. We're gonna put this piece in first, but we do need to get this bent into shape. Okay, and that's just like that. And now this guy here, the way that this works, I'll show you here in a second. So this is a little different, okay? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place glue on these tabs here. Now there's more than one way to do this, but this is the way that I found was easiest for me. I'm gonna start by putting this little section right up against one of these sides here. Okay, so I'm gonna work with making sure that it's aligned with this piece first, and then the rest of it will fall into place. Okay, so make sure that's nice and even and perfect. Okay, and I'm gonna flip this over so I can apply pressure from the inside to get it nice and attached to that other piece. Okay, so give that a second to dry. You really want this piece to dry because it is going to help support the rest of this process. Technically, we can go ahead and just to make our lives easier, we can place glue on this. Now, because this is engineered in such a way that everything should be mathematically perfect, you should be able to glue this piece on and feel confident that the rest of this will fall into place as far as those teeth go. Okay, because we've actually engineered this in a three-dimensional sphere, and everything should fit perfectly. So I'm just getting that other tab glued to that little piece there and scooching things around a little bit to make sure that it's got a perfect hold, and still, you know, it's not totally glued down, so you can get those teeth back in there. They are tiny, so you gotta be careful. And let's make sure that these other teeth are in there as well. Okay, and then you can pop this open. You can see the teeth there. You wanna fold them back. Okay. Now you may want to get a little piece, like a you may want to get like a little poker tool or something to kind of move those pieces back, because we are going to apply glue to each of those little teeth. Okay, you don't need much, and then you're gonna just push them up against that piece there, just making sure that this bottom, it's nice and aligned and flush with this. Okay, so whatever method you need or whatever little tool you need to bring those teeth back, if you can do it with your fingers, if you have fingernails, which I don't, you could probably get away with that. I'm sure you guys have nicely manicured fingernails. I actually went and got a manicure today, and I just, you know, I don't have fingernails though. It's just, I try to keep them clean, but I've got nothing to grab with. So as you can see, I'm doing okay with just my fingers. You should be able to just fine. So that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna glue those little teeth to the edge there, and then ultimately it's gonna look nice and flush like that, okay? So I don't need to glue those all together. We're just gonna fold these over, and then this piece with the little B on it is gonna get glued right to these tabs here. Pretty easy, actually. Okay, so we're gonna glue that right in place. And again, the cool thing is that this piece is gonna get glued to the other piece. So even if it looks really, really darn good as far as the accuracy, based on how I did it. I'm very happy with it. And you're gonna glue it on this way, okay? Not this way, obviously. It's gonna get glued on this way. So go ahead and just put glue on this whole thing. Make sure that Make sure you get enough glue on there because we really need this to stick. Okay, and just glue that right on there. It should align perfectly. Should have a nice perfect fit. Okay, so there's your base. Okay, and just hold that down, make sure it gets a good grip. Okay, so that's the base and the actual structure. The only thing left to do at this point is put together our roof, which is actually pretty easy too. So let me show you how that works. We have 4 pieces like this, 4 panels. There are vellum pieces as well, and that all works the same way as this guy here. So again, texture side up. Let's begin by creasing these and getting them in position. There are score lines going up the roof, and that's just to help with alignment. And there is just one more score line there. Okay, so you want to do that to all your pieces because that is going to make sure that there's no resistance as you're gluing this together, and it's going to look so much cleaner and better when you actually go to glue these things together. Now this little piece right here on the tail, just make sure you're using your table to help form that scoring area, okay? And all we're doing is, now this is actually, I was folding it that way, which is fine, but you want to go ahead and fold it back eventually because the roof slants like that. Okay, so, and that's fine. Okay, so before we start gluing this together, what I would suggest that you do is glue your vellum down, okay? You want to glue your vellum pieces down, and because after this thing's together, it might be a little difficult to get your hands in there to glue the vellum down. So lay it over the openings, the cutouts, and just get some glue in the spots where it's going to sit. Okay, so I'm just kind of getting glue all around the design, and then it kind of just goes down here, and that should be fine. It should hold it in place real well. Just make sure that vellum covers all of the cutout areas so that when that light shines through, it gets nice and diffused. Okay, so that's pretty good. Okay, and let that dry. And then, so you're going to repeat that with all 4 of your panels, or all 4 of the roof structures. Okay, and you can go ahead and take 2 of these now, and we can go ahead and begin putting it together. I'm going to put glue on this large tab here and glue him to his neighbor. These are all the same size. They're all equal. Okay, so shouldn't matter which one you start with. Should be all identical. Okay, and then you're just going to work your way up and get this bent like so. I'm going to put glue on this next 2 tabs because that is the next section before a score line. And I'm just going to hold that in place and try to get it aligned so that that little area between the tabs is, for the most part, hidden. You don't see it. Okay, just hold that in place while it dries, and then you can start putting glue on the next little section. And you always want to just work section by section as far as the score lines go. And that's going to ensure that this guy goes together beautifully. Okay, so I've got 2 more tabs, or 3 more tabs left here. Like I said, I'm just going to do section by section here. Okay, and just hold that down, let it dry. A little excess glue there. Get that out. Okay, next section. Now this is a little bit smaller because there's a little design there, and we didn't want to obstruct the design, but it's still enough little area there to do its job. Okay, and finally we've got one last piece here. Go ahead and put your glue on this triangular tab and glue that into place. and just follow the natural curve of that score line. That's what you're using as a guide to help you place its neighbor, okay? So there's half the roof. You're gonna repeat the same exact process until you have this thing closed up. So I'm gonna meet you when this thing is closed up. Okay, so I've got pretty much all four sides here glued together. I'm gonna go ahead and close this guy off by gluing this bottom piece in place. This is probably the most important piece to get aligned as perfectly as possible, because there's another piece that goes inside this to help with the lid and getting it to, well, I'll show you here in a minute what I mean. So we're gonna go ahead and glue this next piece into place. Just slide that in. And now, because we're starting to close this off, you gotta kind of go from underneath to get this lined up. So do your best to get that nice and lined up. It's not so bad. And just hold that in place while it dries, and that leaves just 4 more tabs. Now, because we're kind of starting to get to a point where it's hard to spread this thing apart, I'd probably put glue on the rest of the pieces and just try to quickly work your way up and just gently get those pieces aligned. And this top piece should be big enough to get your finger in there. Okay. And just hold those in place while they get a grip. I'm just going to do these 2 pieces. The top 2 are kind of fighting me a little bit, but that's not a problem because we can always flip it over and apply more glue if we need to, but I don't seem to need to. I think I got it. Okay, so there's my roof. Looks really nice, came together well. And again, your vellum's already going to be in there. Okay, so all that's left to do with this guy is, well, we have the decorative panels that are going to get glued on. Okay, so these guys are going to go here. It's going to be a nice little even border all the way around. So glue all 4 of those into place. And then we have our panels that are going to get glued into place like so. This little piece didn't pop out for me. Okay, so we're going to glue that into place like so. Okay, so you can just put glue on the back of this guy and glue him into place. Okay, now one thing that we did with ours is I took a tiny, actually these are not even an inch, they're 0.9 inch in diameter styrofoam balls. And I took it outside with some glitter spray paint. I spray painted it, and I took a little tool and hollowed it out. You could probably, yeah, I mean, I just took I actually took a spatula, one of those Cricut spatulas, and just kind of hollowed it out so that it sat right on top like that. Now you probably don't even need to hollow it out. I think it looks fine the way it is, just like this. So that's optional. You know, you don't have to. I think it still looks good like that, but you can add a little styrofoam ball to the top of it just to finish it off. Okay, so get your panels on there. And there's one last thing you have to do, because with this, it doesn't sit very pretty. We've devised a little device that will help you get this thing to sit really nicely on the base. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece, we're going to get all these little score lines nice and folded. Okay, and this piece won't really be showing through at all. I'll show you how it works here in just a second. It's pretty clever. Ron did a great job with the design, and Diana executed it beautifully. As you can see, it's really not that difficult of a piece to put together. So texture side up. Okay, the way that this works is, let me put this piece together real quick here, just so you can see what we're doing. Okay, and I'm going to glue these pieces end to end. This is pretty self-explanatory, I think, once you kind of If you didn't have instructions, I bet you could still do it. But I don't mind doing these videos. I love doing the videos and actually getting a chance to put my products together. It's really fun. I'm definitely doing a Halloween version of this. For all of you guys that know me, it goes without saying, I always associate Halloween with things that light up, so you can't go wrong with that. So I'm going to glue this piece to the other side, like so. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to fold these tabs over, like so. Okay. And again, this is texture side up. It's going to go inside here. I'm going to stick that in there. Get it in there. Probably didn't glue it as accurately as I needed to. There we go. Okay. And that is going to give us, well, our lid. You'll see how that works here in a second. So we're just going to glue this into place. Again, no one's going to see this top part. Okay, so if you get a little wacky with the glue, it's okay. It's going to be forever hidden away. So you can kind of, for the sake of getting things done, you don't need to be very meticulous with this piece. It is forgiving. And we'll just push that down and get that into place. Okay, beautiful. And we're going to take these corner pieces and connect them together. Okay, so you're going to put glue on these little tabs here. And glue that into place. Hold that while it dries. Pushing real hard. Okay, get this next piece, same thing. Put some glue on this guy here. So you're just going to do this 3 more times so we can connect all these pieces together. And just make sure that it's nice and flush there on the edge. We don't want any paper sticking out past the point of where it's supposed to be, because this thing is going to get put inside of the other roof piece. And that's going to help us create a nice lid that actually works, and we'll hold it in place in a very specific place, exactly where we want it. Okay. And there's my glue. Okay. Get that bent into shape. Okay, great. So your little lid piece is done, and then ultimately what we're doing is we're taking this piece and gluing it to the inside of this other piece. Okay, and we've got the little points here to help us make sure that we're getting it aligned perfectly. Okay, so what I suggest you do is take your glue, and again, this inside piece, no one's really going to see this, so just get your glue out to the rim, to the edge of this. Okay, and just get your glue right out to the edge, as close as you can. I'm just going to do all 4 sides, because once you pop it in there, it's pretty much in there. Okay, and just pop it in and use that little pointy part as your guide for all 4 sides. Okay. And just push that into place. And just push down all the way around. Give it a chance to dry, and honestly, that's pretty much it. You've got your lid, and now because we have that piece, it's going to sit perfectly on your lantern. So really, that is it. You know, minus the fact that I didn't put the panels on there. This is your final lantern, just as just as we designed it in the video, in the trailer. If you watch the trailer, this is a little tea light that I used. I got it on Amazon. I think it's $7, but it's color changing. You can control it with a remote. So it's really cool. And I'm willing to bet that someone is going to glue this on there, hot glue or something, and figure out a way to hang that. So brownie points for the first person that figures out a way to hang this thing. We had some ideas, and we may do that eventually, but this is a great little centerpiece, and I'm sure you guys are gonna love it. And look for some freebies upcoming to spookify this thing. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you next time. Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.